It's Thursday. Welcome to the 10th episode of Echoes from the Source. Today we're diving deep into a really fascinating chapter. It's from Gurudev's book, An Intimate Note to the Sincere Seeker.
Ah, yes. A fantastic book. Really profound perspectives in there.
Totally. And this chapter, it tackles something, I know, like all of us really wrestle with.
Yeah.
Finding comfort within conflict, not after it, but right in the middle of it.
Exactly. Gurudev, he's known for this, isn't he? Taking these big human experiences and making them, well, accessible. His wisdom here isn't about trying to dodge conflict.
Yeah.
Life throws it at us anyway, right?
Right.
It's more about finding a different way to relate to it all, finding that inner peace even when things outside feel, chaotic.
Yeah, that's what really grabbed me from the sources you shared. He has this knack for simple shifts in understanding that are just powerful.
Yeah.
So our mission today in this deep dive is to really pull out the key nuggets from his teachings on this. How to navigate conflict, not just by gritting your teeth, but actually finding like genuine inner comfort. So you, our listener, can hopefully take some actionable insights away for your own life.
Sounds like a really valuable exploration for everyone, really. So where should we start? Where does Gurudev begin with this whole conflict and comfort thing?
Well, he kicks it off with a pretty direct statement. He says, conflict is the nature of the world. Comfort is the nature of the self.
Wow, straight to the point.
Yeah, it's stark, isn't it? But when you think about it, the sources really highlight this idea that conflict isn't some mistake. It's just how a dynamic world works.
Right, like planets spinning, seasons changing.
Exactly. And people, with different ideas, different desires, bumping up against each other. Friction just seems kind of built in, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, that constant flux, the duality we see everywhere, hot, cold, light, dark, agree, disagree, it naturally creates friction. So Gurudev isn't saying it's bad, just that it is. And then he immediately contrasts that with the nature of the self. That's the key move, I think.
Which he describes as this underlying stillness, peace, like an inner anchor, something that stays steady no matter what's happening outside.
Yeah.
And the sources point out something crucial here. We often get comfort wrong, don't we? We think it means everything outside is safe and predictable, going our way.
We chase that external stuff, yeah. A perfect job, no arguments.
But Gurudev flips that. He's saying true comfort, the kind that lasts. It's internal. It's a state within you.
Precisely. Because those external things, they're always changing. That's the nature of the world, like he said. So he's pointing you, the listener, inward, saying the most reliable comfort is in that still core, the self.
And he uses some brilliant metaphors to help us get it, doesn't he? Like the still boatman in a storm.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic.
You can picture it, right? The boat, this life getting tossed around by waves of conflict. But the boatman himself stays calm, focused, steering.
The storm doesn't define the boatman. He's navigating through it. It really separates the outer chaos from your inner capacity,
Yeah.
What stands out to you there?
I think it's that sense of agency, even when things are wild. The boatman isn't just being thrown about. There's direction. Then there's the eye of the hurricane.
Yeah.
That image of like total stillness right in the middle of intense turmoil.
It's almost counterintuitive.
It is, but it shows how deep peace can exist alongside chaos. No matter how nuts things get, there's always that potential for calm at the core.
It really hits home that peace isn't just about things being quiet around you. The intensity outside doesn't wipe out the possibility of peace inside. Sometimes the contrast makes it clearer, actually.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And then the moon reflecting in a turbulent lake.
Ah, another good one.
The reflection gets all messed up by the choppy water, right?
Yeah.
But the moon itself,
Yeah.
up there, perfectly fine, unchanged.
Yeah.
It shows how our perception can get distorted by conflict, but our true self, our essence, stays constant, untouched by the drama. So even if you feel shaken, that core you is still steady.
It's that crucial difference, isn't it, between identifying with the choppy surface and recognizing that unchanging inner reality. The messy reflection doesn't change the moon. Your conflict experiences don't change the peace of yourself.
And finally, the lotus blooming in the mud. Such a beautiful image. How peace and beauty can actually come from challenging, even kind of unpleasant environments. So it's hopeful, right? Suggests difficulties aren't just roadblocks.
They can be the very soil something beautiful grows from. The lotus needs the mud. It draws nourishment from it. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? How might challenges in your own life be, well, helping you grow in ways you didn't expect?
Definitely food for thought. Now, it's interesting how Gurudev then connects this to the Bhagavad Gita.
Ah, yes, Krishna and Arjuna.
Right. Krishna's advice. Be centered in peace
Mm.
and fight. That really messes with the usual idea of peace and action being opposites, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. We often think peaceful means passive, withdrawn. But the Gita, through Gurudev's lens, offers this different model. Engage, act when needed, but do it from that inner stillness.
So it's not choosing peace or action.
No, it's integrating them. Peace isn't avoiding things, it's the foundation for acting effectively. That's a key insight for you, the listener.
It really shifts the idea of spirituality, too. It's not necessarily about escaping the world, going off to a cave somewhere.
Right.
It's about finding a way to engage with the world, conflicts and all,
Yeah.
but more effectively, more centered, bringing that inner calm into daily life.
Exactly. Spirituality becomes a practical toolkit for navigating life more skillfully, not hiding from it. It gives you, our listener, those inner resources to face things with more clarity, resilience.
Which leads right into his idea of the inner warrior and peaceful action. He says something like, people who love peace don't want to fight, and those who fight don't have peace. What is needed is to be peaceful within and then fight.
Sounds like a paradox, eh?
Totally. How can you be peaceful in fighting?
Well, think about it. People desperate for external peace might avoid necessary conflict, right? And those always fighting. They rarely have inner peace. Gurudev's suggesting a third way. Cultivate that inner peace first. Make it your foundation. Then act when you need to.
The sources use that analogy of the calm fireman going into a burning building.
Perfect analogy.
It's not like they're detached or don't care,
Yeah.
but they aren't panicking either. It's this, trained awareness,
Mhm.
deep focus that lets them act effectively without being consumed by fear. Peaceful inside, then engaging the fire.
Exactly. They're highly engaged, but the inner state is calm preparedness. That allows clear decisions. Think about how that could apply in your own life, listener. Those moments, you need to be decisive, but also calm.
And that connects right back to everyday life, doesn't it? Those emotionally charged situations we all hit. A tough chat at work, a tense family moment, even just road rage. Gurudev's saying you can navigate those better without getting lost in the emotion if you cultivate that inner peace.
Yeah.
Through practice, meditation, breathing.
Precisely. It's about building that capacity to stay centered when things get rough. That inner practice becomes your anchor. Stops you getting swept away. What situations tend to get you charged up, listener? How could more inner peace help there?
Now, here's something I found really interesting, maybe a bit counterintuitive. Gurudev talks about the futility of resistance.
Ah, yes, and the power of acceptance.
He says just trying to end a conflict only prolongs it. Why do you think that is? I mean, shouldn't we always try to fix things, resolve them?
It's fascinating, isn't it? But consider this. Maybe that urge to resolve it right now often comes from needing control.
Oh.
You get so fixated on a specific outcome that you actually end up fueling the conflict. With your own anxiety, your effort to force it, like gripping sand too tightly,
Yeah, the more you push, the more it pushes back.
Yeah.
It's like that need for control, for everything neat and predictable. Life's just not often like that.
Exactly. And so Gurudev introduces this idea, which can feel really liberating, that acceptance, not forceful resolution, might be more powerful.
Acceptance, meaning just letting it be.
It's about acknowledging it's there, without that immediate pressure to eradicate it, meeting reality as it is first.
And then there's that line. It's not up to you to resolve the misunderstandings and conflicts. Wow. That feels like a weight lifted, doesn't
It
it?
can be incredibly freeing for you, listener. It releases that burden of feeling responsible for fixing every single conflict. It acknowledges some things have their own course. Your focus shifts to your inner state, not manipulating the outer stuff. How does that land with you? Take some pressure off.
Yeah, definitely. The sources also had some great real-life examples that make this less abstract.
The stories help.
Like Vikram, the corporate leader.
Yeah.
Seen as this calm guy in high-pressure meetings. His secret, daily meditation, short practice. It allowed him to feel the pressure but not carry it inside. He literally said, I don't carry it inside me anymore.
That's a powerful illustration for you, listener. The pressure didn't vanish, but his relationship to it changed. He created that inner space.
And Tanya, the young mother, finding peace during a tense family argument, not by running away, but just by being present with her breath, right there in the middle of it.
Instead of getting sucked into the drama.
Yeah, she just anchored herself. That simple act. It shows you don't always need to fix or flee. Just being present can be powerful. Can you imagine doing that in your tense family moments?
Tanya's story really highlights the power of presence for you. That simple act let her navigate with more balance. A reminder that sometimes just being there without judgment is the strongest move.
Then Arvind, the project manager, he realized he was adding to team tension, found that taking just a moment, focusing on his breath before going back into a tricky situation, shifted his energy, and he responded more calmly.
That pause made all the difference.
It lets you respond with clarity, not just react, right? It can change the whole dynamic. Have you ever noticed how your own mood can escalate things?
Absolutely. Arvind shows you how that quick return to inner calm can ripple outwards.
And Samir, another leader, started using daily silence, found it shifted his perception of team conflict. And surprisingly, things often resolve more easily without him needing to jump in and fix it.
It wasn't about forcing it. His internal shift created space.
It underlines that idea, doesn't it? Sometimes the best way to handle outer conflict is to work on your inner state. That inner work can lead to outer change.
Exactly. And Mira, going through a tough divorce, so much conflict there.
Yeah.
She focused on finding inner peace amidst the turbulence. It helped her cope, sure, but it also seemed to positively affect the external situation too.
It's that paradox again. Letting go of the need to control sometimes yields a better outcome. Can you see how that might apply elsewhere in life?
Mira's story is a real testament for you, listener. Acceptance isn't resignation. By finding peace inside, she shifted her energy, and that had ripple effects. Your inner state really influences your outer world.
And lastly, Tara, the school teacher, just had this calm presence in tense meetings. Her colleagues said her calmness created space to breathe for everyone else, like her inner peace was contagious.
It really shows how your state influences the whole atmosphere, doesn't it? Her calm provided stability. Let others find a bit more space, too. Highlights how interconnected we are emotionally.
Okay, so the big question then is, how do we actually do this? How do you bring this comfort into your own daily conflicts? The sources give some really practical steps you can try right away.
Good, let's get practical.
First one, just pause. Simple, right? That tiny gap before reacting.
Crucial. That pause creates space between the trigger and your usual reaction. Lets you choose consciously. What would a 1-second pause look like for you in a conflict, listener?
Then, breath. We mentioned it with Tanya. Just consciously noticing your breath. Slow, deep inhales and exhales. It can shift you out of fight or flight, like an internal reset button.
It's fundamental for regulating your nervous system, grounds you, interrupts reactivity. You can do it anywhere, anytime.
Another one. Journal about your conflict triggers. Become aware of what sets you off.
What situations, what interactions?
That awareness seems key, always. First step to changing the response pattern.
Understanding your patterns helps you break free. Journaling gives insights, helps you approach similar situations differently next time. What are your common triggers, listener?
And, of course, daily meditation. Even just a few minutes. The sources stress it's not a luxury, it's like a return ticket to the self. Reconnecting with that inner peace.
It builds that inner reservoir of calm Gurudev talks about, so you have something to draw on when conflict hits. Even 5 minutes helps.
Engaging in selfless service, seva, that's another one.
Ah, yes.
Helps break that self-absorption that fuels conflict, connects you to something bigger. When you focus on helping others, your own stuff often shrinks a bit.
Service shifts your focus outward, reminds you you're connected. It's a great antidote to the self-centeredness that escalates things.
And shifting from that urge to fix everything immediately, to first just witnessing it, observing without judgment. See what's actually happening before feeling you have to intervene. That feels important for you to try, listener.
Witnessing creates distance, allows clarity, less emotional entanglement, leads to more thoughtful responses, not just reactions.
Taking short stillness breaks during the day, micro moments of silence, 30 seconds maybe. Just reconnect. A little mental palate cleanser.
Like little resets for your system, helps maintain connection to the self. Stops you getting too caught up in the external drama.
Practicing soft eyes. Ever heard of that?
Tell me more.
It's a physical thing. Consciously relaxing your gaze, softening your focus. It's amazing how that physical shift can soften the mind too. Reduce tension. Try it now, listener. Notice the shift.
Fascinating technique to experiment with. Releasing physical tension releases mental tension. Softening the gaze creates a more open, receptive state. Helpful in diffusing conflict.
Cultivating acceptance with an affirmation. Like, I don't need this conflict to change in order to be okay.
Ooh, that's powerful.
Feels really liberating, doesn't it? Repeating that to yourself.
It's about finding peace regardless of circumstances. Releasing attachment to things being different. Finding okayness now, even if now has conflict in it.
And finally, using the mantra of acceptance. Silently saying, this too belongs.
Embracing it all.
Yeah, embracing even the difficult bits as part of the whole experience.
That encourages you to accept all experiences, listener, even the uncomfortable ones. Reminds you resistance often creates more suffering than acceptance. Everything's part of the tapestry.
Near the end, Gurudev brings in this, wow, really powerful divine perspective, reminding us God is alive in the world and has been putting up with all conflicts in the world throughout the ages. If God can, so can you. That's a lot to sit with.
It is. It reframes your struggles in a huge context. Suggests that capacity to endure, to find peace amidst it all is inherent in you, like it is in the divine. It's not indifference. It's seeing divine resilience as a source of your empowerment, your strength.
And he wraps up by reiterating that dance, between the outer world of conflict unavoidable and the inner world of comfort always accessible.
Yes, that balance.
He talks about doing both simultaneously for sincere seekers, engaging with the world, acting, but staying anchored in the self, in that peace.
That's really the essence, isn't it? Integrated living, not withdrawing to find peace, not being overwhelmed by conflict, finding that sweet spot, engaged living with inner peace as your companion, your guide.
And he emphasizes comfort isn't just luck, it's a choice, a presence you cultivate within the storm and conflict itself.
Surprisingly, it can be this amazing spiritual teacher for you, listener. Reveals your attachments, shows where you need to grow, find more freedom.
Absolutely. Conflict shines a spotlight, shows you your blind spots, limiting beliefs, patterns that cause suffering. It's a catalyst for transformation if you approach it with awareness.
And he points out, so often the real conflict isn't out there, it's inside, with the ego, with believing you're your problems, your reactions. That inner conflict, identifying with the ego's need to be right or in control, that's often the root of the suffering.
Yeah.
Realizing the awareness, witnessing the conflict, not the conflict itself, that's key. And sometimes, like you said, just holding space, breathing, letting things be, that's the most skillful, peaceful path.
The goal isn't some magic trick to avoid conflict altogether because, well, that's probably not possible.
No, probably not.
It's more about figuring out how you can navigate it.
Yeah.
With more inner peace, maybe a bit more understanding.
Exactly. You shared some incredibly rich stuff, and what we want to do is pull out the practical wisdom for everyone listening.
Yeah.
Think of it less like becoming bulletproof to challenges and more like shifting your whole relationship with them, getting those aha moments.
That's it. Those moments that really change how you see things. The surprising power you find in not resisting, maybe even in surrender.
That sounds counterintuitive.
It does, yeah. And also how to stay centered when you're right in the middle of something tough. Plus, the role of compassion, huge one. And this idea of conflict actually being a teacher.
Okay, brilliant. That one really lands, doesn't it?
It really does. It stops you a bit.
Yeah. What does that actually mean for, how we live day to day?
Well, I think what's so insightful there is just acknowledging that the world outside us, it's always moving. It's this constant play of opposites, right?
Like ups and downs, joy and sorrow.
Exactly. Success, failure, agreement, disagreement. It's just change, constant change.
Okay.
But then Gurudev contrasts that with what he calls the true self, that deep inner core.
Not just our thoughts or feelings passing through.
No, something deeper, unchanging, peaceful, that essential part of you.
So it's like knowing the world's going to have its storms, its chaos. But somewhere inside, there's this solid ground, this stillness we can always find.
That's a great way to put it. That storm metaphor they used in the source material was spot on.
Yeah, the storm rages outside, but the earth is steady underneath.
Precisely. The external stuff can feel overwhelming, like that huge storm. But your inner being, that self, it's like the deep, steady earth. It's not shaken. And the key thing is, well, we can't always control the weather outside.
Right.
We can always access that inner stillness. Peace isn't something we wait for the world to give us. It's already there, inside.
Okay, that distinction feels really important. It frees you up from expecting the world to always be calm.
It does. Because that expectation just leads to frustration, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so conflict is part of the deal externally. But then Gurudev says something else interesting. Whatever you resist persists. Now, that feels backwards. My instinct is to push against things I don't like.
Mine too. It's very natural.
So why does resisting actually keep the conflict going?
Well, think about where your energy goes when you resist. You're focusing your thoughts, your emotions, right on that thing you're fighting.
Okay. Yeah, I see
It
that.
becomes the center of your universe almost.
Yeah.
And energetically, what we focus on, we tend to feed, we amplify it. Resistance basically pours fuel on the fire.
Huh. It's like trying super hard not to think of a pink elephant.
Exactly. And suddenly, that's all you see. Pink elephants everywhere.
So by fighting against a conflict, getting really worked up about it, we might actually be giving it power, keeping it stuck.
That's the idea.
Hmm.
The resistance itself creates this internal tension, this tightness. And that feeling inside can actually make the external situation feel worse or just keep it going longer.
Right.
So instead, the teaching encourages, well, not collapsing, but approaching it with a different mindset. More acceptance, maybe. Non-resistance.
The non-resistance doesn't mean just letting people walk all over you.
Yeah.
It's not inaction.
No, not at all. That's a really key point. It's not about being passive or helpless. It's about choosing not to let the external chaos totally wreck your inner peace.
Okay.
It's about managing your internal state first.
That makes sense. The sources mention that simple step. Just pause. Take a breath before reacting. That little gap seems like it could change everything.
Oh, it's huge. Because what do we usually do? We react instantly, right? Often from emotion.
Yeah, knee-jerk reaction.
And that just escalates things 9 times out of 10. That pause, that single conscious breath, it creates space
Phase 2.
to just observe for a second, see things a little clearer, and then choose a response rather than just firing back automatically, a more skillful response.
Okay, I can see the power in that pause. And then there's this related idea, surrender. Gurudev says when you try to end a conflict, you only prolong it. That sounds like a total paradox. How does surrender, which sounds like giving up help?
Yeah, it does sound odd at first, but surrender here isn't about waving the white flag and just collapsing. It's more about letting go of your fierce attachment to one specific outcome.
Ah, okay. So, like, if I'm insisting it has to end this particular way.
Exactly. You get rigid, you fixate. And when you're that fixated, you close yourself off to any other possibilities, any other ways it might resolve.
You block creative solutions, maybe.
You can, yeah. That tight grip, that need for control, actually fuels the struggle. Surrender, in this sense, is about releasing that tight grip on the how.
So it's not passive, it's actively letting go of expectations.
Yes, actively releasing the need to control the ending. It frees you up to be more present and act more effectively now, rather than being stuck worrying about a future you can't fully dictate anyway.
Loosening the grip, being open to different possibilities, even if they aren't exactly what I first wanted.
Precisely. Trust in the process a bit more, finding your balance even when things feel messy and uncertain outside.
Okay, that reframes surrender completely.
Okay.
Now let's bring in the Bhagavad Gita, that image of Krishna telling Arjuna, be peaceful within and then fight. Wow, that hits differently.
It's incredibly profound, isn't it? The emphasis is on the internal state first.
Right, before the action.
Yeah. It's not saying don't engage, don't face the challenge, don't fight the battle.
Sure.
It's saying how you enter it matters immensely.
Calm, not anger or fear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cultivate the peace inside while you're in the storm. Don't wait for the storm to pass to find peace. Find it in the storm.
Okay. But that sounds hard. How do we actually do that? How do we find inner peace when things are really difficult, really emotional?
Well, this is where that idea of inner alignment comes in, and practice helps a lot.
Practice like meditation.
Yeah, things like meditation, mindfulness, maybe just spending quiet time in nature, anything that helps you connect with that deeper, quieter part of yourself.
So those practices build like an inner muscle.
That's a good way to think about it. They strengthen your ability to stay centered, to remain anchored, even when the world outside is turbulent, like being the eye of the hurricane.
A calm center.
Right, the chaos is swirling all around, but right there, at the core, there's stillness, there's clarity.
That's a powerful image. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. This idea that conflict can actually be a teacher. That one resonates with me personally. It's tough to see it at the time, obviously.
Oh yeah, in the moment, it just feels awful.
But looking back, some of my biggest growth spurts came from navigating really tough stuff. How can we consciously make that shift to see conflict as, well, maybe not an enemy, but a teacher?
It really comes down to mindset, I think. Instead of immediately going into defense mode or feeling like a victim.
Which is easy to do.
So easy. Instead, try approaching it with curiosity. Ask yourself some questions.
Like what?
Like, okay, what can I genuinely learn here? Or what is this situation showing me about myself, my triggers, my assumptions, maybe even my weak spots?
So the conflict is like a mirror.
Exactly. It reflects back parts of ourselves that maybe need some attention.
And the sources mentioned how external conflicts can sometimes mirror our internal struggles, things we haven't resolved inside. That's
Yeah.
deep.
It really is.
Mhm.
And it's worth paying attention to patterns. If you find yourself bumping up against the same type of conflict again and again.
In different situations, with different people.
Yeah. Maybe in relationships, then at work.
Yeah.
It might be a signpost.
A signpost to look inwards.
Exactly. Take some time. Reflect. Are there old emotional patterns, limiting beliefs, ways of reacting that just keep popping up because they're mirrored in what's happening outside?
Asking why certain things push my buttons so much.
That can be incredibly revealing, a really useful practice.
Oh. Another huge theme that came up again and again was compassion. The power of compassion in dealing with conflict. How does that actually work? How does bringing compassion in change the dynamic?
Compassion is, well, it's like changing the energetic frequency of the whole interaction.
How so?
Instead of just seeing the other person as the opponent or the problem.
Which is the default sometimes.
Totally. Compassion means consciously remembering their humanity,
Mhm.
recognizing they have their own struggles, their own viewpoint, their own reasons, even if you completely disagree with them.
So it's trying to genuinely step into their shoes, even for a moment, to understand where they might be coming from.
That's it, exactly. And crucially, it doesn't mean you suddenly agree with them or excuse bad behavior. Not at all.
Okay, that's important.
But it creates space, space for empathy, space for understanding. And when you respond with, kindness and less judgment instead of just defensiveness,
It softens things.
it really can. It can de-escalate the tension, take the heat out of it,
Yeah.
and it opens the door for actual dialogue, maybe even finding common ground.
Right. Okay, we've covered some really profound ideas here, but let's make it super practical. How do these principles look in, say, our everyday lives? Give us some examples.
Absolutely. Okay, let's take a classic. A fight with a partner or a family member.
Yep. Familiar territory for many.
So instead of just launching into attack or defense mode or maybe stonewalling,
Right.
applying this might look like, first, that pause, remember the breath, try to find just a sliver of inner calm amidst the emotion.
Okay. Easier said than done, but okay.
Huh. True. Then try to respond with some compassion. Genuinely try to hear their side, even while you're expressing your own feelings clearly.
And maybe reflecting on why I'm reacting so strongly.
Yes. Asking, what's this triggering in me? Choosing a response rooted in that calmer place rather than just lashing out, it can completely change the course of the argument.
What about work? Workplace conflict can feel really high stakes and draining.
Yeah, definitely. The instinct there might be to get defensive, protect your turf, get into office politics.
Huh?
But using these teachings, it would mean consciously working to maintain your own inner balance first, not getting swept up in the drama,
Staying centered.
staying centered, and actively trying to understand the other person's perspective. They have pressures too, right?
Yeah.
Different goals maybe. Acknowledging that.
So trying to find a solution from that place of inner balance, not just reactivity.
Exactly. Focusing on the issue with clarity, not getting lost in the emotional weeds.
Gurudev also made that really interesting point about conflict being kind of ongoing. He said something like, the problem in Russia is solved, but Bosnia is in trouble.
Yes, that observation about the perpetual cycle.
It highlights how it plays out globally, but it feels true personally too, right? One issue gets resolved, another pops up. How do we not just get completely exhausted by this endless cycle?
That's where his other insight comes in, I think. When you agree to be with a conflict, it no longer appears as a conflict to you.
Agree to be with it. What does that mean? Like, accept it.
Yeah, basically acceptance, deep acceptance, recognizing that conflict in its many forms is just part of life, like weather, like seasons changing.
It's not an anomaly. It's just part of the fabric.
Right. And when you stop fighting the fact that conflict exists, when you accept it as just part of the human condition, something shifts.
Your perception changes.
Your whole relationship to it changes. It stops feeling like this constant battle you have to win, this thing you have to eliminate. Acceptance kind of takes the charge out of it.
So shifting from fear and resistance towards mindful awareness, inner strength through the challenge.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
And that inner strength ultimately comes from knowing that your core self, that deep essence.
The self we talked about earlier.
Exactly.
No.
It's actually untouched by all the external drama. It's okay, even when things are really intense outside, that inner space of peace is always there.
Always accessible.
Always. And you can reconnect with it. Simple things, deep breath, a moment of quiet mindfulness, they're like little anchors, reminders that you are the observer, the calm center, not just the thoughts and feelings being tossed around.
This has been, wow, a really rich discussion. So much to think about. To sort of wrap up our deep dive here, could you give us a quick recap, the core takeaways for navigating conflict better?
Sure. Let's see. First, really grasp that difference. The world outside is changeable, conflict-prone. Your inner self is peaceful, steady. Big difference.
Got it.
Second, remember the power of non-resistance. And surrender, not giving up, but letting go of rigid outcomes. It diffuses the energy.
Right. Less fighting, more flowing.
Kind of, yeah. Third, the Gita wisdom. Act from inner peace. Cultivate that calm first, then engage.
Peaceful action.
Successful action. Fourth, shift your view. See conflict not just as bad, but as a potential teacher. What can you learn?
Growth opportunity.
Definitely. And finally, never underestimate compassion. Bringing understanding and kindness truly transforms the dynamic.
Okay, that's a great summary. And for everyone listening, maybe just take a moment later today. Think about a recent conflict, even a small one.
Yeah.
And just imagine, what if you had applied one of these ideas? Paused, tried to find that inner calm, showed a little more compassion. How might that have changed things? Just something to ponder.
Life is this dance between conflict and comfort. They both show up.
Yeah, unavoidable.
Totally.
Yeah.
But real strength isn't about dodging the conflicts. It's about building that unshakable inner peace, that anchor within you.
So you can handle whatever comes up.
Exactly, so you can navigate any storm. So keep exploring that connection to yourself. It truly can change everything about how you experience conflict, turning it from just stress into, well, maybe even a path to growth. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Gurudev's teachings, the big takeaway for you, our listener, seems to be this. True comfort isn't about getting rid of conflict, because conflict is just the nature of the world.
Right, can't avoid it.
Instead, it's about cultivating this resilient inner state, this deep connection to yourself,
Yeah.
something you can access, rely on, even when the storms hit.
Exactly. It's about shifting your main focus, less trying to control the outside world, which is often impossible anyway,
Yeah.
and more actively cultivating inner resilience, peace, acceptance within yourself.
And we've talked about so many practical tools today you can try. Pausing, breathing, meditating, acceptance.
These aren't just ideas to think about. They're actionable steps. Things you can weave into your day to navigate conflict with more ease, more awareness, more inner peace. Start small. Be patient with yourself. Notice what shifts.
So here's a final thought for you to chew on, listener, building right on Gurudev's wisdom. What if you shifted your whole perspective from needing to fix every single conflict to actively finding stillness and acceptance within it? How might that change your entire experience of daily life? What new possibilities might open up for responding differently, for deeper understanding, when inner peace becomes a priority, not just fixing the outside?
It's really an invitation, isn't it, for you to explore a totally different relationship with conflict, to see it not just as something bad to avoid, but maybe even as a chance to connect with that deep well of peace and resilience you already have inside.
We really hope you'll take some time to reflect on these ideas from Gurudev's chapter, see how they resonate with your own life, your own conflicts. Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us today.